Friends, how are you? Welcome or welcome back to my channel, and today we are of course going to do another one of our dramione fanfiction recommendations. As I have shared in some of my video before, that I am currently home right now in Vietnam, and I have just came back from a trip to the northern part of Vietnam, and I'm from the south, and so everything was so beautiful. And the entire time that I was there, I just kept thinking how nice it would be if I have something cozy and lighthearted and fluffy and just summary to read while I was on vacation. And so it kind of gave me an idea to do a video recommending dramione fanfiction that I think would be perfect summer reads for you guys, whether you want to spend your sunny day outside reading or whether you want to bring them with you on your vacation to somewhere sunny this summer. And so let us get started with the video. And because I feel like the term summer reads is very subjective to my taste, so I want to establish some criteria before we go into the list of recommendations, just so you guys know or have an idea of what to expect going into this video. And so the first criteria going in is that the story would offer a lot of detailed descriptions of beautiful sceneries, because I just feel like if you are not on a vacation this summer, then you should be able to be somewhere fictionally. I don't know what I'm talking, but that is just the first criteria that I put out for this video. The second one being that it has to be funny or lighthearted or cozy or just wholesome in general. There's no bad vibe, everything that you would expect from a summer romance. And the third one being optional, but it would be great to have some steamy, some lemony scenes. And so those are the three criteria that I have established for this video. And if that is what you are looking for, then please go ahead and watch until the end of this video. And because I didn't want to make the video super long, I will break up my dramione summer read recommendation into two separate videos. In this one, we only have the novel length and the medium length story, and in the next one, we'll all have the one-shot recommendation. And so please stay tuned for that recommendation as well. And so I believe everything has been covered, and let us get started already. So the first category we are going to do today is the novel length, and to me those story that I will mention today will be kind of like small doses story that you will not be able to finish in one go, and you wouldn't want to finish it in one go either. It's kind of something for you to devour bits by bits, to immerse in it slowly. And so the first story is what actually inspired me to do this video. It is the first story that I think of whenever I think of summer reads, and that is Universal Truth by Scully Murphy. So this is a dramione spin-off on Pride and Prejudice, but unfortunately I have not read the book nor watched the movie, and so my entire opinion on this story alone will just be on the story and not in comparison to any other work. And so this story starts out with our lovebird Draco and Hermione unexpectedly run into each other sometime after the war. They both harbor some kind of prejudice against each other, but they still mingle because of some overlap, some mutual friends, some mutual connections that they have. And one thing leading to another, they cannot resist the other person. And so we get to see slowly how their relationship develop, how they discover themselves and the other person, how hatred turn into love, how enemy once turn into lovers. And it is, in my opinion, just a perfect summer romance read. And this is just one of the stories that make me feel so sad after reading it, just because I know that I would never be able to watch this. Every detail in this story is just so beautiful, and I have to give my kudos to Scully Murphy, the author. The detail in this is just crazy. We have Draco driving sport car, we have French mansions and cottages, we have vintage dresses, fashion. So if you are, you know, into that type of vibe, then this is just gonna be perfect for you, and you don't have to worry about the lemon or the spice in this. You will be satisfied. Their relationship and their interaction in this is so genuine. It kind of reminds me of how they develop their relationship in Remain Nameless as well. But the only difference between Universal Truth and Remain Nameless is that I feel like Universal Truth possess that kind of like climax building, so it kind of prompt you to read more and more. They keep you on your toes a little bit more than Remain Nameless. But regardless, if you have enjoyed Remain Nameless and you are into that kind of like old money aesthetics, I feel like this is going to be perfect for you, and this is going to be a perfect hot girl summer read. And just because I have gone ahead and mentioned it, we have the second recommendation, Remain Nameless by Hatred19. This is also a story about Draco and Hermione unexpectedly run into each other. They unexpectedly saw each other at a coffee shop 9 years after the final battle, and there their relationship slowly developed from acquaintance to friends and to finally lovers. And this is no fast-paced story. This is a classic slow burn when it comes to dramione. But in my opinion, I want to say that this is a slice of life story, just because because we get to see them every day, developing their relationship bit by bit, discovering themselves, discovering the other person, a lot of healing, a lot of getting past your past prejudice, a lot of new friendship with old faces. It's just everything is so tenderized in this story that it makes me so soft. This is one of the Draco that I feel like would do anything and everything for Hermione. This is one of the stories that their happiness is so hard fought and so well deserved that in the end you would just go like, oh my babies. That is how I felt after I read Remain Nameless. Usually I am not very into descriptive detail, but Remain Nameless, just like Universal Truth, offer a lot of beautiful sceneries description that will keep you dreaming to see Dramione in actions. To be honest, I am not a slow burn person, but when it comes to Remain Nameless, I don't think that any of the words in this 300,000 word story is redundant at all. I feel like everything would just leave with gold for my eyes, and so I just keep reading, even though some people find it boring. I think Remain Nameless is just one of the pillar in the Dramione fandom, and it is a classic. And so if you are not into very angsty story or very dark story like Magical, I feel like Remain Nameless is a must read for anyone loving Dramione. The third one also being on my favorite of all time list, it is Simply Irresistible by Bookworm 1993, and a lot of people say that this is a classic Dramione drum-com. It is recommended a lot under the fake dating trope, but I feel like Simply Irresistible is just a lot more. This is a story where Draco offers Hermione an entire makeover to revenge her ex for cheating on her. Her ex here being Ron Weasley, so if you are into Ron bashing, this is also perfect. This story is just so warm, so cozy, so lighthearted, with the details being so fluffy that it just make me grin the whole time that I was reading it. Even though every detail about this story is just super lighthearted and warm and cozy, the story doesn't feel cheesy at all. And so if cheesy is something that you want to avoid, you don't have to worry about this. And another thing that I love about this story is just the supporting cast. They have an ensemble of a supporting cast, but then each and every one of the characters have the flavor and the color of their own, instead of just being put into the story just for the sake of having a lot of characters. I love their friend group so much that when the story ends, I kind of feel like I'm breaking up with some of my friends as well. Even though it's just such a simple and lovely read, it gives me hangover for days after I finish reading it, and I remember rereading the entire thing right after I finished reading this story. And if you just want a feel-good story, a mood lifter, Simply Irresistible is your answer. And the last novel length story we have in this video is going to be Apple Pies and Other Men's by To Eat a Peach. And To Eat a Peach is the author of one of my favorite one-shot of all time, and so you don't have to worry when it comes to the writing from this author. I want to say that this is a story about Hermione coping mechanism post-war. She is on her PTSD trip, begging for everyone that was involved in the war, friends and enemy included. And on her list, of course, we have the Malfoys, and so that is how their relationship spark, how they get to build the relationship after the war, how they get to transform the relationship from enemy to friends, slowly to lovers. And what I love about this story is just the details in here. To Eat a Peach has such a way with writing details for Dramione that it just makes me melt into a puddle. We also have supporting Lucius and Narcissa in this story, and it is something that I always appreciate. I feel like everyone kind of deserves a second chance, and I think they are very funny in their own way. And the way that To Eat a Peach will write Lucius and Narcissa is very believable in a way, not like making them or like washing them of their crimes and everything. And so I kind of appreciate that detail in this story as well. We also have supporting quality supporting character in this story as well, and it makes the reading experience just so wholesome. And I once described this story to be like a blanket on a cold winter day. You don't want to leave it just because of how good it makes you feel. And again, if you are looking for some fluff, some wholesome story for the summer read, again, you have another recommendation. And the first one being Bus Stop by Marmalade Fever. This is one of the stories that I wish I see it recommended more just because of how good it is. This is once again a story about them unexpectedly running into each other, but this time as a bus stop. And so they kind of spend their bus ride talking, bantering, and falling in love. This is just straight up fluff. It is just such a cute and lovely story revolving only around the lovebird. And so if you are someone like me who is just a sucker for their one-on-one interactions or their moment, this is gonna be perfect just because the whole story is just about them and them alone. And every chapter is just the more build up of their interaction, of how they develop their relationship. And so this is just a galore for me when it comes to fluff and cozy, warm-hearted story. This is one of the stories that I always come back to whenever I feel a little bit down mood or when I didn't know what to read next when it comes to dramione, because it just makes me feel so good and so inspired to read more dramione, because it does make you crave for something more. After you read it, it's not enough. And so if you want something a little bit shorter length so that you can finish in one go, maybe on a bus ride, then this is going to be perfect for you. The last novella recommendation as well as the last recommendation for this video is going to be One Each Day by Long Distance. And you may have known Long Distance from my previous video for being the author of some of the very famous and well-loved marriage law story. So if you want to read some more of her work in the marriage law trope, I recommend you check out my previous video. This is a story about Draco being pressured by Lucia and Narcissa to look for a wife. There's a Christmas ministry gala coming up, and by the time that the gala happens, he needs to give his answer on which girl he will court, and his option being Pansy and Astoria. But because he was so unsure about either one of those options, he kind of visited a psychic shop in Diagonal Alley, and he was given 3 potion bottles. He was told that if he drank one of those bottle before he goes to sleep each night, he will be able to kind of like see his future with the prospect of his wife. So the first night he saw Pansy, the second night he saw Astoria, but then again he has his third option, the third bottle of someone of a future being unknown to him. And so how does he goes about discovering his options and then finding a wife by the time that the ministry gala happens is how this story begins. And in this story we have mutual pining, we have everything delicious, even though this is a story about Christmas gala, but I just feel like the whole vibe just give you such a warmth that it's kind of like a perfect summer read as well. I always love how long distance relationship development between Draco and Hermione, how there's nothing spelled out for you, how there's no going deep into the emotion and the thought and the feelings of the characters, but you kind of have to get it yourself from the details, from how they treat, how they love each other, how they navigate their emotion. And just because I'm not a fan of descriptive paragraph, I would prefer to figure it out for myself from like the small details, small action between them. And so I think this story is perfect for when you want to read some mutual pining, some enemy to lover story with a more unique plot. And I think this is going to be perfect. And that is the end of our first installment for the summer reads. Like I have said before, all the one-shots will be recommended in the next video, so please stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so down below so that you don't miss any of my more future videos. And please let me know if you happen to read any of my recommendations and have a good time with it. I would love to hear you guys' opinion, and I will see you guys in the next video being the summer reads one-shots. I will see you guys then. Bye!
I don't think that I got time for shit.